You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
I'm back. Rodrance for Black and White Sports. Well, we're going to talk about Jack Del Rio in the NFL and Lamar Jackson. You might be like, what does one have to do with the other? Damn good question until you see the train wreck known as Twitter. Okay. Warren Sharp of The Ringer tweeted something out earlier where he had gotten some feedback about how some people around the league feel about Lamar Jackson as a quarterback. And let's get to this because somehow the leap was made that this was going to be about Jack Del Rio. And Jack Del Rio was over here trending, in fact, at the time. Why? Because people took it upon themselves to just assume that Jack Del Rio made this quote and, of course, immediately labeled Jack Del Rio a racist. Warren Sharp, holy shit, what a truly ignorant quote on Lamar Jackson from a current NFL DC, defensive coordinator. Quote, if he has to pass to win the game, they ain't winning the game. Another defensive coordinator said. He's so unique as an athlete, and he's a really good football player. But I don't give a shit if he wins the league MVP 12 times. I don't think he'll ever be a 1 as a quarterback. He'll be a 1 as a football player, but not as a quarterback. And as you can imagine, this triggered everybody. Keith Olbermann, yeah, the ultra woke, ultra progressive, ultra radical, took it upon himself with no proof of anything whatsoever. Just took it upon himself to say, this just in, Jack Del Rio has changed his name to, quote, another defensive coordinator. So, that stupid, irresponsible, ignorant-ass comment from Keith Olbermann got Jack Del Rio labeled a racist. That's right. Again. How mad do you think Jack Del Rio was when the reporter told him he wasn't going to put him on the record as saying this? And this turned into a shit show. Okay, it's definitely Jack Del Rio. 1,000,000,000,000% Jack Del Rio. Wow, this is all about Jack Del Rio. Me watching Jack Del Rio call up soft zones versus the Chargers last season. Everyone thinks it's Jack Del Rio, but I'd bet there are other coaches who think the same way he does. What's the problem with how he thinks? I will be shocked if this garbage didn't come from Jack Del Rio. Why didn't Jack Del Rio put his name on this? Keep in mind, nobody knows this is Jack Del Rio that said this. Nobody. We know it was you, Jack Del Rio. I mean, this is crazy. Jack Del Rio called January 6th to dust up and doesn't think Lamar Jackson is a QB1 despite winning record and MVP. These are the mindsets of NFL coaches leading people of color. Again, no proof Jack Del Rio was the one that said this. By the way, the comment in itself is not racist. It's not. It's a NFL defensive coordinator that these SOBs on Twitter believe they're smarter than when it comes to football. I mean, come on. Who wants to bet this is Jack Del Rio? Wow. MFers need to figure out Jack Del Rio is a long way from being the only coach who is a chud. I don't know what a chud is. Y'all forget about Gruden already. You mean the same Gruden that 1 million black players came out and said this wasn't racist? Who is this and why is it Jack Del Rio? That's a 100% Jack Del Rio. This was Jack Del Rio, wasn't it? We don't have to sweat over Jack Del Rio's opinions. He's just projecting. Just a dust-up, Jack Del Rio. This is crazy. I know a Jack Del Rio quote when I see it. Do you? Because I bet you really don't. Definitely Jack Del Rio. If you're just catching the video, they have no proof this was Jack Del Rio that said this whatsoever. I'll take things racist-ass Jack Del Rio would say for $500, Alex. I don't know if Jack Del Rio said this, but I love that everybody knows Jack Del Rio 100% said this. Lamar is 25 and has won 41 games. Jack Del Rio was 25 and 23 as a coach with the Raiders, and in 8 years won 68 games. He has no room to talk. He's a loser and has flawed views on basic truths. Except this statement, Jack Del Rio called January 6th a dust-up and doesn't think Lamar Jackson is a QB1 despite a winning record in MVP. These are the mindsets of NFL coaches leading people of color. Again, for the umpteenth time, nobody knows Jack Del Rio said this or not. Nobody knows who the defensive coordinator is that said this. Everybody just took it upon themselves. They saw what Keith Olbermann said, and next thing you know, Jack Del Rio is labeled a racist today. I would bet a not insignificant amount of money this was Jack Del Rio. What in the Jack Del Rio? Sounds like some shit Jack Del Rio would say. I mean, it's Jack Del Rio. Pretty obvious. This is what we've just got through reading. Jack Del Rio's name has been drugged for the last hour and a half on Twitter as a racist over an anonymous comment a defensive coordinator made about an NFL quarterback, and he's an NFL defensive coordinator. Number one, they automatically labeled the comment as racist because Lamar Jackson's black. What about that comment was racist exactly? The defensive coordinator doesn't think Lamar is a true passer. If you start digging deep into statistics, there are things that could lead you to be construed in that direction. I think he's a pretty good quarterback. But you start deep diving, look, he hadn't gotten that extension yet from Baltimore. He will, but come on. The utter and complete ridiculousness and irresponsibility from all of these people that have taken it upon themselves today to call Jack Del Rio a racist for the last hour and a half, not having a single clue if Jack Del Rio is the defensive coordinator that made that comment about Lamar Jackson. I mean, y'all bitches just made that up. Let's just be real. I saw this, I was like, I'm making a video. Jack Del Rio has been setting back, called a racist for the last hour and a half about an anonymous quote that not a single person knows who it came from. That's where we are today, folks, in society. God dang. Tell me what you think, black and white sports fans. Peace. I'm out. Till next time. Black and White Network supporters, make sure you check out the Black and White Network merchandise store. Link in the description. Use promo code USA First, all one word. USA First, all one word. 25% off now.